Here is a look into the 10 youngest serial killers in the history of crime. Beginning with Eric Smith, 13 years of age, who brought a horrendous fate to a small town, forever scarring its people. On August 2, 1993, when Smith was 13 years old, he was riding his bike to summer camp in a local park day camp. 4-year-old Derek Robbie was walking alone to that same camp. Smith saw Robbie and lured him into a nearby wooded area. There, Smith strangled him, dropped a large rock on his head, and sodomized him with a small stick. The murder case made national headlines in the United States, and Smith confessed to his mother that he killed Robbie. The Smith family informed law enforcement later that night. Smith was tried as an adult, making him the youngest murder defendant tried as an adult in New York State history. He was subjected to extensive medical testing from specialists on both sides. They examined brain function, hormone levels, and found nothing to explain his violent behavior. According to court documents, Smith was a loner who was often tormented by bullies for his protruding low-set ears, thick glasses, red hair, and freckles. On August 16, 1994, Smith was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to the maximum term then available for juvenile murderers, a minimum of 9 years to life in prison. The next youngest serial killer on our list is Mary Flora Bell, an English woman who killed 2 preschool-age boys in 1968. Bell committed her first killing when she was 10 years old. In both instances, Bell informed her victim that he had a sore throat, which she would massage before proceeding to strangle him.
Roma pinned us down, and Mary had grabbed us by the neck and started strangling.
Bell was convicted of manslaughter in relation to both killings in December 1968. She was 11 years old, and her actions were judged to have been committed under diminished responsibility. She is Britain's youngest female killer and was diagnosed with a psychopathic personality disorder prior to her trial. Bell was released from custody in 1980 at the age of 23. A lifelong court order granted her anonymity, which has since been extended to protect the identity of her daughter and granddaughter. She has since lived under a series of pseudonyms. The next youngest serial killer who made it on our list is Michael Hernandez, who is serving a life sentence for the February 2004 murder of Jamie Goch when they were both 14-year-old students at Southwood Middle School in Palmetto Bay, just outside Miami. Hernandez had lured Jamie into a handicapped stall before school with a promise to show him something. He then pulled out a knife, stabbed him more than 40 times, and slit his throat. He then hid the knife in a secret compartment in his backpack and went to class. After Jaime's body was found, a teacher noticed blood on Hernandez and notified police. It was discovered that Hernandez had become fascinated with serial killers, studying them online. He had made a list of people he wanted to slay, including Jamie. He was found guilty in 2008 of first-degree murder after a jury rejected his insanity plea. The next serial killer we are about to discuss is James Fairweather, a 15-year-old boy when he committed his murders. He attended Colchester Academy. He was bullied for his prominent ears. He struggled at school, in part due to dyslexia, which was not diagnosed until he was detained. In 2012, he was badly affected by the death of his grandmother. His victim would be a man named Atfield. He was a father of 5 who had suffered brain damage after a car accident. He was lying on the grass at Castle Park after drinking when he was attacked by Fairweather. He was found bleeding to death by paramedics, who could not save his life. The violence committed towards him with over 100 stab wounds startled the police. In court, Fairweather said that voices had chosen Atfield to be his victim, and the voices began to laugh as he stabbed him. Atfield had defensive wounds on his arms and hands, indicating that he was conscious enough to attempt to fight off Fairweather. A girl named Almanea would be his next victim. She was killed in overgrowth on Salary Brook Trail near her home. Fairweather stabbed her in the abdomen before forcing the knife into her eyes and ultimately her brain, so that she could not see evil. On 29 April 2016, Fairweather was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum of 27 years. Daniel Bartlam is the next young serial killer we are going to discuss. In April 2011, Daniel Bartlam went into his mother's room where she lay sleeping and attacked her repeatedly with a hammer. Daniel then set her body alight in order to conceal his crime. Daniel Bartlam fled the burning house with his younger brother and his dog and waited for the emergency services. When questioned, He told police there had been an intruder who had set the house alight and he thought had hurt his mother. After this initial statement, Daniel Bartlam then told police that he had killed his mother after an argument. During a search of the house, police found the hammer used in the attack in Daniel's bedroom. They also found a document on his computer where he had written a story featuring a character bearing his own name who murdered his mother. When the case came to court in early 2012, Daniel Bartlam pleaded not guilty to murder. He claimed he had been provoked during the argument with his mother earlier in the evening and pleaded guilty to manslaughter. The jury unanimously convicted him of murder on 9 February 2012. In April 2012, Daniel was sentenced to a minimum of 16 years in prison. The next young killer on our list is Alyssa Bustamante, a 15-year-old who ended up killing 9-year-old Elizabeth Olton in St. Martin's, Missouri on October 21, 2009. Bustamante lured Olton into the woods before strangling and stabbing her to death. Bustamante murdered Olton simply due to homicidal ideation and to see what it was like to kill someone. She was later indicted and pled guilty to second-degree murder and armed criminal action and was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of conditional release in 2024 for second-degree murder. Number 3 on our list is Harvey Miguel Robinson, who was an American serial killer. He was 18 when he committed his violent spree. Robinson's rape and murder victims were Joan Berghardt, a 29-year-old nurse's aide, Charlotte Schmoyer, a 15-year-old newspaper carrier for the Morning Call, Schmoyer, who was a student at Deerhoof High School in Allentown, and Jessica Jean Fortney, a 47-year-old grandmother. Denise Sam Calley was one of Robinson's victims who luckily survived. He stalked her for days and broke into her home. He raped and choked her and left her for dead, but she survived. Sam Calley managed to break free of Robinson's grip and run outside. Robinson attempted to attack her again, but she fled. Eventually, the police used Sam Calley as bait to lure Robinson in order to capture him. A shootout erupted between Robinson and a police officer. He fled, but he was wounded, so he went to the hospital, where he was arrested. On December 14, 2012, Robinson agreed to waive his appeal rights in the Schmoyer case in exchange for a life sentence. Number 2 on our list goes to serial killer Graham Young, who was obsessed with poisons from an early age. Young started poisoning the food and drink of relatives and school friends. He was caught when his teacher became suspicious and contacted the police. Young pleaded guilty to 3 non-fatal poisonings and, at age 14, was detained at Broadmoor Hospital. Young later took responsibility for the death of his stepmother, though this has not been proven. After being released in 1971, Young got a job in a factory in Bovingdon, Hertfordshire, where he began poisoning his colleagues, resulting in 2 fatalities and several critical illnesses. Young was convicted on 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of attempted murder in 1972. He served most of his life sentence at HM Prison Parkhurst, where he died of a heart attack in 1990. At number 1, we have Amarjit Sada, who committed his murders at the tender age of 8, making him the world's youngest serial killer. In 2007, a mother in the village of Mushahar in Bihar, India, reported her 6-month-old daughter missing to police. The child's body was later found during a police search, buried nearby. Authorities launched and investigated into 8-year-old Amarjit Sada after he allegedly told locals in the village he'd strangled the 6-month-old and reportedly even showed them where he left her body, a few hours after the baby was discovered. Sada was accused of not only killing the 6-month-old, but also his 8-month-old sister and 9-month-old cousin. Amarjit was spared prison due to the Indian judicial system's treatment of young criminals. Instead, he was imprisoned in a children's home, where he would remain until the age of 18, as required by Indian law. His fragile mind may have conduct disorders, according to psychiatric evaluations, complicating an already confusing situation. At the age of 16, he was eventually allowed back into society under a new name, albeit his present whereabouts are still unknown. What are your thoughts on these youngest serial killers? Comment down below and subscribe for more content like this.